Just want to give a couple huge thank yous to everyone who participated in this script. This script is months in the making. It took so much work from so many different people, so I just want to give a quick shout out to each of these people. First, I'd like to thank all the VAs who participated in the making of this audio. There are actually 6 speakers in this audio, including me, so I voice Lucia. We have Dubious Creature as Nora. We have Amalea of the Night Star as Cecilia. We have Oracle Phantom as Aset. We have Snugbug VA as Valentine. And last but definitely not least, Ravenbird VA as Claudette. So an extra special thank you to all of them for participating. It took a lot of work from everyone. As always, you can find all of these channels linked in the video description as well as the end card of the video. We also have all the channels we collab with, no matter how long ago it was. They are always featured in our featured channels on the homepage of the channel. So you can find everyone we've ever collabed with there. And yeah, just thank you so much, guys, for pitching in and helping. It really means a lot. And for all you listeners, I hope you enjoy, because I know I enjoyed making this script, and it's quite something special to do a collab with just this many people. So, enjoy! So my ears did not deceive me. What an odd surprise, lurking around the castle at night. What a strange manner you have, my dear. I can see you perfectly. There really is no need to hide. You're no hunter, are you? Perhaps you're curious, wondering if the rumors are true. We have entertained our fair share of unexpected visitors throughout the years, but I must admit, this is the first time I found somebody spying from the bushes. Come on out, my dear. I'll show you inside. That way you may come to confirm for yourself. I see you're already dressed for the occasion, planning to invade a stranger's ball. How daring! Oh, not to worry. Those brave enough to enter are always welcome. But before I forget, allow me to introduce myself. You may call me Lucia. And this lovely masquerade is how I tend to celebrate my birthdays. Flustered, are we? You surely must have heard about this castle being inhabited by vampires, yet you still came to see for yourself. Very curious indeed. You must be quite adventurous to come here all alone, but I cannot allow such a charming guest to miss this event. It would be my pleasure to escort you inside. You would be under my personal protection for the night. There really is no need to worry, dear. I promise you, not a soul here wishes to harm you. Vampires are much more behaved than legends would lead you to believe. And the premises are guarded so that no fights may break out. Simply call for help, and if you do find yourself in need of it, I will not allow any ruckus within my castle, and thus far there have been no incidents. In the 3 centuries this ball has been taking place. Oh no, dear, I am a bit older than that, but Enough now, shall we? I promise I will not bite. At least, not for now. There we go. Straighten your back, dear. You look as though you are able to walk into the lion's den. You will be perfectly safe tonight, but be careful when exploring around the castle. In a structure as old as this one, you never know what you might come across.
Found you? Did you really think you could escape me, Lucia?
Why should I ever attempt such a thing? I simply had something else to tend to. For the matter, may I introduce you to our newest guest?
Well, now who is this charming figure? A new face, and then such a stunning one. It is a pleasure to welcome you here, stranger.
Mind your manners.
My sincerest apologies. My name is Cecilia. How may I tend to your needs and desires?
I must request you keep an eye on them for me tonight. Our guest may be a little more fragile than we're used to.
Oh, that should be fairly simple, though I cannot promise to take my eyes off of you again, stranger. You're quite captivating.
Good, but forget not to give them space. Our guests are not toys, remember that.
I shall attempt to behave.
I suppose that is the most I may expect of you.
How harsh of you, Cecilia, speaking as though you are innocent.
Must I remind you?
Save me your lectures. But may I suggest we show our guest around? The garden is lovely at sunset. The ballroom will be all the same later, but once the sun fully fades, most of the garden's beauty will be hidden.
Perhaps you're right, and it shouldn't be too cold outside just yet. This way, my dear.
Careful now.
A set! What a surprise! You rarely decide to join us.
I have been fairly busy at the residence, but Claudette suggested I should take some time away from it all.
Then I must hope that you enjoy the night. Had I known you would visit, I would have had a room prepared for you.
Perhaps another time. But who might this be? How bold of you to bring a human here, Lucia.
Surely my guests know how to behave themselves.
Perhaps I underestimate modern vampires. Or perhaps you will simply feed them your blood if anything does happen.
Times change. Nevertheless, I wish you an enjoyable evening.
I quite like the sight of you. I never knew you to be so protective over a stranger nonetheless.
Such loyalty I would have wished to see from you too, Lucia, but instead you have only disappointed and disregarded me.
Claudette, perhaps you should have attempted earning my favor.
Perhaps I was not human enough for your liking.
Perhaps not, but nonetheless, I welcome you to my castle. Life is too long to hold on to such meaningless bickering.
It seems as though Lucia is getting ahead of us. But I must agree. Where would we be if we took everything so personally?
Is it really of any importance? Wars are won by persisting, after all, and if one grows too soft, they lose the ability to fend for themselves.
This is hardly a battlefield, dear Claudette. Perhaps you too need some time to rest your mind.
Must you really torment me with my own advice? I believe I know what is best for myself.
Perhaps it is necessary.
I remain doubtful. My mindset has not done me wrong thus far.
Not you, but plenty others.
You are far too sensitive. My efforts to help you were thoroughly wasted. To believe you once seemed so promising.
There is no sense in pondering now. Things are as they are, and we did not come to argue.
Such words of appeasement out of your mouth? I never knew you to be so diplomatic. Are you not normally the one who strives to be in the right?
Does it bother you, my dear? We can go exhaust your frustrations elsewhere, but I request you behave as long as we have company.
Must you talk down to me like this? I may not have reached your age yet, but I am hardly a child.
I must as long as you're embarrassing yourself. Have you not yet learned proper etiquette in your time? But what else am I to expect from a farmer's girl?
Yet you still chose to turn me, despite all those royal fools at your disposal. At least I have earned my titles and was not simply born with them.
The wars you fought were neither glorious nor selfish, Claudette. Don't act as though you deserve recognition for your slaughter.
You have no clue of the world, Lucia. You live in your castle with grandiose feasts, living in excess. Neither before nor after your time with me have you felt hunger nor pain. Is that what you consider deserving? I made you, and you could have been a woman if you stopped being a failure.
Now, there is no need for insults. Calm yourself, Claudette. This is neither the time nor the place for such discussions.
Fine, but do not mistake my silence for agreement.
Will you behave yourself now?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that so difficult? You must not always speak your crude thoughts. All it will achieve is meaningless quarrel. But hell, let us not bother you no longer. Claudette and I were on our way to the library to escape the noise for a moment. Though any of you are welcome to join us, shall you wish to do so. That extends to you as well, little human. I am rather intrigued by you, and surely you will survive a bite or two.
Farewell, then. How odd it feels to see Claudette on such a tight leash. Perhaps it will do her well. Oh dear, I apologize. I did not mean for you to get caught in the crossfire. Though you might consider yourself lucky. Just now you met two of the oldest living vampires. Not many mortals have had that chance. It is said that Aset was the first of our kind, and she must be well over 1,000 years old by now. A fairly frightening thought, is it not? But we should hurry along now. The sun is setting already. It appears one of the council members wishes to speak with me. Cecilia, would you show our guest around while I tend to this?
It will be my pleasure.
Good. I shall meet you once again once I am finished.
Follow me, dear. I must apologize for the scene you witnessed. Claudette and Lucia have never been on best terms. Older vampires tend to share a different set of values than their younger counterparts. So bickering like this is far from seldom, though we usually manage to avoid escalations. You see, Claudette was the one who turned Lucia. From what I know, it was quite the painful procedure in their case. Lucia is still rather secretive about the details, so I have never dared to ask more about it. Not as glorious as you imagined it, is it? I promise you, most vampires do not have such drastic views, or at the very least, they know to conceal them for social events.
Cecilia, you, here. Should you not be celebrating inside?
Is it so strange for me to enjoy the gardens?
Perhaps not. I simply did not expect it. But I see you have company. Are you here in search of privacy?
Are we? Perhaps later. For now, I am simply offering a tour of the premises to our new guest.
Oh, a new guest. I welcome you to the Masquerade, then. My name is Valentine. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
May I ask who your companion might be?
Believe we have not been introduced. I am Nora Hart, an heir of Lucia's.
Is that so? I've never seen you at the masquerades thus far.
I have been absent, but I recently came into town again, and Valentine convinced me to attend this year.
Can you believe this to be her first? In 100 years, not once has she come to visit the castle.
These big events are usually overwhelming to me. I tend to prefer quieter, more secluded settings. Hence, we found ourselves in the gardens, rather than in the midst of celebrations.
Either way, I much appreciate your presence here tonight.
The same to you, my friend.
How sweet.
Surely you're not envious of whom I spend my time with.
I have no need to be, dear Valentine. But, oh, the sun is about to set. I apologize, my darling stranger. Shall we continue our tour?
To tell you the truth, I was about to show the gardens to Nora, too. Perhaps we could join you?
I would be honored to be your guide, my dearest.
I see you do live up to your reputation.
I have a name to uphold, after all.
I find the Mets do no justice to the woman.
Is that so?
Perhaps you would like to find out for yourself.
Your offer flatters me, but I believe you misjudge my intentions.
I sense that to be a rejection.
I shall let you know, should my mind be changed.
Such directness. I see what Lucia must have liked about you.
I hesitate to believe that.
So there is more to it, then.
Certainly less than you think.
Lucia never ceases to surprise me. But, alas, follow me.
I believe this is the way to the pond.
That is quite right. The pond was the last item to be added to the gardens, long after the castle was already built. In its stead, there used to be a small maze that also covered the grounds of what is now become the rose bed, but I never got to see the previous layout in person.
It certainly is beautiful now. especially around noon when the scales of the fish shimmer in the most exquisite colors and the water shines like liquid gems.
Perhaps I should visit again another time.
You most certainly should. And you too, dear guest. The gardens are loveliest during the day.
I am certain Lucia will allow it should we ask her later. Speaking of which, I suppose I should go see whether she needs rescuing from the council. Forgive my brief goodbyes, but I trust our guests will be in good hands with you too.
Worry not. We know to behave ourselves.
What strange friends you have, Valentine.
Oh, they are quite pleasant once you get to know them. Perhaps not what you're used to, but lovely company nonetheless.
I suppose I would have to adjust to somebody of her likes. I tend to frequent slightly different circles.
Surely the two of you could become friends quicker than you expect. Though, perhaps that is an endeavor for another time. But enough of that. Now, we have somebody to tend to. After all, it would be rather rude of us to further ignore such a lovely person.
Indeed it would. I'd prefer to avoid tainting such a charming face with a frown.
Fear not, my dear. I promise we will not bite. If you take a step closer, you are perfectly safe with us.
Perhaps safer than you would be inside. Some guests tend to forget their manners all too easily.
Most that I have met thus far were rather well behaved. Though, you might know more of their quirks than I.
You overestimate my knowledge of these people. Most of the vampires here today I have kept at a distance. Still, though, it may be true that I would have more experience than you. I've seen what vampires are capable of, how they behave.
I suppose you are right. All this is still very new to me. But how about you, dear guest? How long have you known the people here?
How daring. You must not be too fond of your mortal life to come to a place as this one on your own accord.
How is it wrong to seek adventure?
Considering how curiosity might claim their life, I do believe it would be best to consider such a jaunt thoroughly. Many vampires have had their life taken from them, involuntarily and prematurely.
You sound as though you speak from experience.
You are quite perceptive. Only few vampires that I have met had a say in their turning. In my case, it was a moment tainted with grief and carelessness.
How do you mean?
Well, not quite 150 years ago, my previously widowed mother lost her life to illness. I was hardly more than a girl at the time, and I did not handle myself well. That is how I first met Lucia, in a state where I did not care for my own life, subdued by liquor and the paralyzing sadness. She did not mean to drain me, but I suppose that part of my story is shared across many. She attempted to revive me through the healing properties of her blood, but it was too late for me to be saved.
Oh, that does sound much like my own origin. Except, for me, it was more the satisfaction and an urge for new experiences rather than grief that brought me here. Still, in a sense, we are not too different. Though, you sound so pessimistic about it. I understand that you were not given a choice, but it is not exciting still? The heightened senses, the healing abilities, and the strength.
Surely, you speak of a place of naivety rather than ignorance. Nonetheless, there are still many negative sides to vampirism, though you might not have experienced most of them yet. You are still so young, so innocent. I would not hope so, but you will likely view these things as I do, soon enough.
What a gloomy outlook.
I can only hope you will be spared of these dark realities. No soul deserves to live through such an emotional and physical torment. Vampirism is not quite as glorious as it might seem at a first glance.
Have you experienced this tragedy you speak of, I mean?
Not quite. Not in the prevalent sense, at least. Though I have seen those around me fall victim to it far too often. I apologize. I did not mean to invoke unease within either of you. Perhaps discussions such as this one are better held under different circumstances.
It is quite all right. But I believe we should escort our guest back inside now. The night has grown rather frigid, it appears.
Oh, you poor thing. You're shivering already. I should have been more considerate. Please, let us guide you back to the warmth of the ballroom.